Thank you all. Thank you, Coach. Can I go? Okay. So my name is Komi Elicha. I'm going to.
Please have a seat if you're with us, and could the doors be shut, please?
Okay. So thank you, Coach, and thank you, community. I'm going to present the version 5 of our current proposal, which is amending the current policy development process. So that is version 5. Okay, so again, here is the problem statement. The current process aiming to improve, to develop a proposal in our region does not have provision for adoption, proposal adoption, and also does not cater for duplication of proposals. It also lacks a clarity about problem statements and how do we deal with proposal out of scope? Because here in policy development process, we are supposed to only discuss proposal which related to managing internet number resources. So the current process lack all that. And finally, and most important, the consensus process for decision making is not defined, and it usually opens door for interpretation and inactions, especially from a co-chair perspective. One another point is the current process does not have provision for board adopting policies as per section 11.4 of the AFRINIC Constitution in the varying of the process. So, update from Amamet meeting, AFRINIC 29. First of all, we have noticed that co-chair have invited objectors and proponents of the PDPBs to cooperate. There was comment about improving the definition of last call and also to improve how we define consensus. And by consensus, we mean rough consensus. We have also in version 5 tried to clarify the implementation time after policy proposal is ratified by the board. We now give co-chairs after face-to-face meeting a maximum of 2 weeks, okay, to inform the working group the next step is the proposal moving to the next phase, either review or, not review, moving to concluding phase or not, is going back to discussion phase. So there is also a complaint about avoiding competing proposal, okay, and provision for more information during analysis, impact analysis. So the documents are online. Here are the link of the proposal, and we have also updated the guideline and procedures of how the working group in practical term and is supposed to work about election. And in case, like now, we have only one chair. It's supposed to be 2. So in the guideline, we define also how the working group should try to address those issues. So the main points are adding provision for also travel assistance for proposal initiators, because traveling in our region can be very tricky. So we need, I think we as co-authors have thought that it might be useful to, in certain circumstances, to allow or to support proponent to come at a meeting once the proposal is mature to present and explain more. Appeal can be filed against the result of the adoption phase. In the previous version, you can only appeal during discussion phase, the decision of co-chairs after discussion phase, review phase, or last call. Now, the working group or any member of the working group can also go and appeal against the decision of chair about adopting a proposal or not. And we are saying that after the review phase, if a proposal has gained enough support from the working group, chairs shall initiate as soon as possible and no later than 2 weeks after the face-to-face meeting, the last call for comment. And during the last call for comment, any major objection must be addressed adequately and fully for the determination of consensus. So now I'm going to try to show a kind of chart which describe our proposal. Okay. Okay, from the beginning then, first initiator can submit a proposal. Any person, any member of the working group who has subscribed to RPD mailing list can send a proposal to chairs at the address you can see on the board. And chairs are supposed to evaluate the problem statement, okay, to see if the problem statement is really addressing an issue. If it is okay, then staff move on to assign a number, a unique number for the proposal, to the proposal. But if the chairs find that the problem statement is not accurate or is duplicating an existing proposal or an existing policy, sorry, so they should try to discuss with the initiators either to withdraw, depending on the situation, or to amend the problem statement to make it very clear for the working group to make progress. So initiators are free to collaborate or no. So we call that phase of the process adoption phase. Please. Now, just in case, okay, the proposal got adopted by the chairs and the working group collaboratively. So the content of the proposal shall be discussed on the mailing list, RPD mailing list. And chairs have the responsibility to frequently provide to the working group a summary of the discussion and comment. And initiators also have, in good faith, the responsibility to improve the proposal according to the feedback coming from the working group. This is the discussion phase, which lasts a minimum of 4 weeks. So after discussion phase, chairs shall tell the working group if there is enough support, okay, from the working group to move the proposal to one step forward. If the answer is yes, then good. We shall, chairs shall ask staff, AFRINIC staff, to provide or to propose staff and legal analysis. But in case they, slow down, please. In case the proposal has not gained enough support from the mailing list and from the working group, the proposal can move either back to the discussion phase or to be withdrawn. And also, if there is no progress after a certain amount of time around the discussion and no solution is found, we can go to a situation of withdrawal or rejection. So at the review phase, which lasts a maximum of 4 weeks, the intent is to consolidate the proposal as written, I mean the format, and initiators are expected to update the draft policy as needed regarding the feedback from the working group. And only at this stage, we can consider the working group mutually with chairs can consider the proposal mature enough to be presented at a face-to-face meeting like this one, okay? And after the face-to-face meeting, I mean the public policy meeting, if, and in a maximum of 2 weeks after the meeting, chairs shall inform the working group if the proposal can move again to the concluding phase. If no, there is still a door for initiators to go back to the discussion phase or to withdraw. So at the conclusion phase, which also we call last call, okay, chairs shall initiate the last call proceeding on mailing list. And at this stage, we expect the working group to bring something new. So because at this stage, we shall not be discussing, obsolete objections. So at the concluding phase, any major unaddressed objection shall push the proposal back to the list. And if the result is no, any major unaddressed objection, chairs are expected to declare consensus and send reports as well as recommendation to the board for ratification. After that stage, proposal is active and implemented by staff. So I hope I've tried to go through the whole process with the various options. So we are open for comment and question.
Thank you, Komi. The floor is now open for questions, comments, contributions. Wafa, you go first.
Yes, thank you, Georgie. I will speak in French. So please put your...
Merci. I'm coming to make a simple I'm from Tunisia. I'm coming only to support this policy because I had a time in appeal committee, all the processes which were done for the committee, the review. We had an appeal, and when we wanted to treat it, we had many problems with PDP. There were some issues. I think this proposal can have some clarification which can help in the case of such appeals. I need this policy.
I already indicated in the list in several occasions that I am opposing to this policy proposal. I have sent a couple of times emails explaining specific points. I just want to remind some of them, especially concerning this new version. First, and the most important point from my perspective is that one of the problems that we have in basically all the registries and this one as well in the PDPs is there is a lack of contribution. People believes or understand that the PDP is complex, and this policy proposal is making even much more complex the PDP. So I think that will not facilitate the participation of the people, but on the other way around. So I really think that it will be a big mistake to adopt this PDP. The other point is that most of the phases, adoption and discussion and so on, that you are having in this proposal come from RIPE. And the problem, and I stated this several times, and I said, I think it was in the card that for me, RIPE is the best policy development. This mic is out of battery or what? So I said the RIPE was or is the best policy development process, but there is a big difference that make impossible to adopt it in any other region. Because in RIPE, the process is meant for only taking the decision and the consensus in the mailing list. So in RIPE, face-to-face don't care. All the decisions are taken only in the mailing list. When you try to use that concept here for face-to-face discussions, it really doesn't work. And this mic is really not working. Do you have battery or something for this mic or a replacement mic? So I will try to continue. So that's the major concern I have. It cannot work because even if you state in the policy proposal that it will consider the inputs and the consensus, the mailing list, the timing don't allows for it. Okay, so there is no way you can actually try to accommodate that. For example, one of the inputs I provided, I think 6 months ago or something like that, is give the chairs 2 weeks to take the decision about if there is consensus or not. And if I understand correctly, that was adopted in the previous version, but it has been removed in this version, right?
No.
Then I cannot find anymore the text.
No, so let me help you.
Yeah.
What has been done is, after the face-to-face meeting, we no longer talk about consensus.
Okay.
We talk about enough support to move to the next phase. And chairs have 2 weeks to inform the working group on the mailing list.
Okay, so that has been kept, but the text has been changed, so I may got confused on that. Okay, so no, I don't think it's I think it's battery, but whatever. No? Okay. So the other thing is I radically disagree with not having the possibility to have multiple, let's say, competing proposals. And in fact, a very good demonstration that is useful, it has been this morning. I had even the same author can have multiple competing proposals. Why? Because the way the PDP works, and there is no way to sort it out, is having the possibility to actually present 2 alternatives to the community, so then they can take a decision. So removing that capability, I think it's really, really bad. I believe also there is the appeal process. It must be started by several members of the community, not just one. right? So that's also really broken thing, because it may be possible that a single member of the community is right and others are not just against that, but not stating it. It happens. Most of the people has an opinion on a policy or a proposal, and they don't go to the list to say it. So it may happen perfectly. Last thing I believe is in this version, or well, in this policy proposal, there is a lot of micromanagement from the work of the chairs, and I think they should have some freedom. And for example, I don't agree either that they should decide on the scope or the problem statement before accepting a proposal. I think this is up to the community to decide. And the way to decide is having a policy proposal being discussed and reaching or not consensus. That's it basically. Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Owen DeLong Consulting US. I won't repeat my objections from the mailing list here. You talk about having enough support to move forward, but as near as I can tell, the definition of enough support is vague at best. And so it's not clear what constitutes enough support for something to move forward. There's a lot of complexity here that I think is unnecessary. I agree that the current PDP could use greater clarity, but I don't think that converting it to one of such complexity is necessarily a step in the right direction. So I oppose the policy as it's currently written. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Mike.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Arno Gaimbari, East African Court of Justice in Arusha, Tanzania, and also AFRINIC Fellow. First of all, before I make my questions, I would like to comment this. It's one of the things when I started attending these PDPs, which came on and still coming, at least something is being done on this process, which looks like doing a lot of nothing, but a lot of discussions. And it's good that even among ourselves, we've seen that things can't just stall for a while. I'm a kind of person who believes that any decisions, you better make it. If it is wrong, you can make another one to rectify, instead of not making any decisions at all. So my question will be on where this proposal says on 3.4 consensus, most of the decisions I read in the working group operations and discussions on policy proposals are made through rough consensus unless specified otherwise. I want to know what are the conditions to specify the rough consensus, then we can go on.
I think you can take that immediately.
Okay, so the argument here is that we are functioning as a working group. So as a working group, we must agree, okay? We must agree on which basis are we going to move forward. So there is provision for that, just in case the working group as a whole, it can come that in a certain situation, the working group agree that here we should deal not in rough consensus mode. I mean, you get my point.
I get it. And then it's now much more vague, because I think with my little knowledge and a little bit of it, the issue has been on rough. When I look at the co-chair, when say no rough consensus reached, it's again played around. Why don't we look at actually making this not necessarily rough consensus for every decision? That would be my question. Number two, there's somewhere where you also suggested that there should be a show of hands, but not as a vote. At what stage could that come in?
Yeah, at a face-to-face meeting, of course. So the idea is if a proposal is discussed during the face-to-face meeting, that means there were a lot of discussion on the mailing list, the proposal is mature enough, and the show of hands is a method, actually. It's not a vote. It's a method for chairs, okay, to evaluate the agreement or the support.
And if the biggest percentage goes for the proposal, it moves to the final call.
It's not automatic. It's not automatic. So like that's exactly what the test is saying, is trying to say, that we give chairs some kind of mechanism to assess the, I mean, to assess the support or non-support in the room, but the final decisions comes to chairs.
Perfect. For me, I will be in support of that because the issue of rough consensus is really vague. And by show of hands, at least we can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Thank you. My comment is on the IRR policy processes. I think we are now, so it's okay for our policies to look like any other IRR. And in fact, you should expect that being the youngest of the IRRs, we'll study all of the three and we'll figure out which ones aspects of policy processes attract us, and then try to adapt them in some way into a policy process that we think is good. I noticed that Jody likes the ripe one. He likes it so much, but he doesn't want us to like it either. You know, and we were incubated by ripe. So if we have been influenced sufficiently by ripe, I think it's good.
Let me clarify. I like very much the ripe one. And one of the reasons is because it only works in the mailing list. We don't need meetings. We do meetings as well, but we do policy development faster than in our region. And what I think is wrong is to take a process that is designed for only mailing lists and try to accommodate that for mailing lists and meetings. I think you break it. I tried to make a only mailing list process for LACNIC, and the people didn't like it that. And at the end, we adopted a process that I designed for LACNIC, which is mailing list and meeting. But it's not like the right one, and it's quite good. I mean, never mind. So it's perfectly fine to have different processes, but trying to copy one process for a different region, not realizing that it's meant from a different working perspective, like only mailing list, it breaks it.
So
Stay here.
Okay.
Is that not an assumption?
No, it's not an assumption. If you try to follow the process, assuming that you are considering this process, if you try to follow the process, assuming that the people is contributing in the mailing list, you will see that the timing doesn't match.
Yeah, but we can adjust the timing. All we are saying is that we like process of other Arabs, including ripes. So we have taken the good part we thought and ripe, and we are adding our own local part. What should that be an issue?
Because as I said initially, the major concern I have is we need more community participation, and making a more complex process is against that. The people will participate more if the process is simple.
No, not necessarily. Maybe people are not participating because the process is so cumbersome. It will keep on coming. Today we have 15 policies.
In my opinion, I don't agree. We just disagree.
Exactly. That's just the point. So allow us to evolve something which is good for us. And since I'm here, perhaps you should let me influence that decision. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Maimouna Diop from Senegal, and I switch in French, please. Your headset.
I would like, first of all, to thank those who brought this proposal, because we are in a community where consensus is important. So we know that we are young. We want to construct, and to construct, we need to do it in consensus. I'm going in the line of this proposal. In the beginning, we had a group trying to validate that we have to judge if we can continue discussing the proposal. So that was our idea. So we have to see if this proposal is relevant before now engaging in a discussion. The second item I'm agreeing. I'm not in agreement with Jordi because that we copy things, copycat, as Need said. So we take what is good somewhere and we just put some of our touch because we are Africans. So we want now coming together, looking one another in the eyes. So instead of discussing in line. So the point I want also to say, discussion are made in English and excluding many people who are not able to understand the impact, legal impact, economic impact, social, cultural of these policies. So there is an exclusion. If we limit that all the discussion must be done in English, so we are excluding Francophone, the stakeholders who are not working in that way. That is the case of some government. So when they are taking decisions, it is true there are some, public consultation, but when it is about taking decision, so they organize a working group, then after they come to found a consensus. That's what is missing in AFRINIC, that we should participate. All of us should participate. So I salute this proposal. It is not perfect, but somewhere, so we need also to take some decision as we are moving. We'll be now adjusting. So the way we are defining it, I think we can adopt it and move forward.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Abdulkarim Oloyede. I am a researcher in telecommunications. I want to first of all commend Komi for this presentation. It's a wonderful presentation. However, just like I have raised in the past, as I said in Tunisia, we need to first of all understand the problem of the current PDP process. There are problems with the current PDP process, no doubt about that, and we need to find some solutions. However, I feel that this proposal that Komi is coming forward with, I probably should have come up with another proposal. Probably that would have been a better solution, but this is making things too complex, especially given the fact that we want to make things easier. We know that because at the moment, what we'll see is if just few people are contributing to the PDP process because of some reasons, and all of a sudden you see a hike in the number of people contributing, all of a sudden you see nobody contributing, and there are peculiar situations. For example, we're trying to adopt the process that has been adopted in RIPE. RIPE meetings are paid for. I've been a member of RIPE. It's easier to go to have a consensus on the mailing list with RIPE than in AFRINIC. There are some of these situations that are peculiar to our region. I understand that there are some of these things. And again, have we addressed the problem with the current PDP process? The answer is no. And that is why I think this proposal can be better. What we need to do, I'm probably guilty of this, that we need to contribute to this proposal to make it better. But I don't think this is solving the existing problem. And the existing problem is with us as humans. We do not tolerate each other. We do not trust each other. And if we do not solve that in the first instance, policies is just going to be in the books. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you. I remain Aleruchi. I just have a question. Please, if you can help me out. We just finished discussing a proposal policy that has been on for 2-3 years, if I stand to be corrected, and we haven't come to a consensus, a good consensus, stable. There has been no permanent decision on that policy for 3 years. Tell me, how does this, your proposal, solve it?
Thank you. So, Co-Chair, allow me to take this one.
Okay.
So, please, Aleruchi. Yeah. Okay. Now, can you point out to which proposal you were stating?
The internet resource review.
Internet resource review. Yes. So, actually, the internet resource review.
I don't have to stand here, do I?
Yeah, please. So, my question to you is now, what is the issue have you found during these 3 years discussion? And regarding our problem statement, does it fit in? That's the question.
You are asking me a question I asked you to answer. My question is very clear. We've had a particular policy for so long, we have not come to a conclusion about it. Tell me, you propose this policy. Tell me how you can solve, or this policy can solve that issue.
Hold on, calme. Cool, keep calm, please. On va t'expliquer ça. C'est pas du tout compliqué.
It's not complicated. Alors, prenez,
Can you take your headset, please? Yes, take your headset, please. I want to speak in French. Ready? Good. Bien.
It is very simple. If we can read the statement of this policy, it is putting a procedure in which is now putting this proposal through a filter, a very clear process, when our people are contributing and it is open. When the problem or statement is not in line to the problem we are supposed to solve, this policy is going to die when it is coming, at the beginning. So the policy look very important to the community, but the statement is very clear. And the resolution is necessary. It is now just continuing the process. So discussing during the list, we have to now to define a major problem. And with the contribution of the people, which is now which is missing in this process, so they look like just people which are not active. They are not really owning the process they are supervising. This policy is resolving that issue. This now is enabling, once the policy is accepted, and now we have a new proposal that now we are presenting, it is clear that the policy should be a continuum, either because by lack of argument, either it will continue once the main issues are resolved. These small issues will now incorporate. So it is a kind of consensus in reality. The minors problem, when they will be resolved, they will immediately now to continue with the process. If you took really the pen to read it, you will find that, okay, your problem has already been solved.
I'll try to give a hint, but I can still give it to you like a baby foot. So please, staff, can you go up to, regarding the internet number resources review.
Microphone queue is now closed. Thank you.
Okay, we kept.
Excuse me, please.
Chair.
I don't think I
Chair,
was
can
rude
I
to you.
come again?
Why are you giving it to me as a baby food? I look like a baby? Please, let's
No,
watch
no,
our
no, you should let that
languages,
slide.
please.
Please.
Okay.
Just explain.
Okay, so I was telling that we kept hearing that we don't need this policy because it's already fixed in the RSA, blah, 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 blah. So normally,
Can you imagine that?
okay, normally we have the adoption phase here in version 5, where chairs assess first. They have provision, there is provision for them to assess the proposal if it is relevant for discussion. So if this proposal was on the table 2 years ago, probably we should have done with this. We should have done either we accept as a working group to discuss the proposal or not. And if the proponents are not happy, they could appeal. So does it solve the problem? Oh. Okay.
Next comments. That side, please. Please go ahead.
Okay. My name is Gregoire Eoumi from Benin. So again, here I want to remind people that go to the microphone to be aware about the policy correctly before going to the discussion. So some people still don't understand why we need this kind of policy, and suffering that we will ask you a question when you go to the microphone that to you to explain again what's wrong with your statement. So I will invite the author to give some clarification about the current problem, the current issue that we have with the PDP now. Thank you.
Okay.
Next, please.
My name is William MM. I'm from Nigeria. I want to say that the proposed policy should not be implemented. I strongly oppose it. I am not really endowed with the capacity of lengthy speech, but I want to, in a nutshell, state that if we implement this policy, it will take a long time before you can get it perfect. And moreover, the policy is complex. So I think we should stick to what we have already. Thank you.
Okay, next.
Yes, yeah, thank you. I remain Farouk Nasser. I think I'm trying to give a suggestion based on the clarity or the questions she asked about having a proposal circulating, looping endlessly without any approval or decision. Why can't we now maybe borrow from basic peer review process that we normally use in journals and etc.? We should have, of course, we have the start point. If there's a possibility that we can roughly work out a kind of maximum embargo period or validity period for a proposal to sit on discussion before we make a decision, since after all, we still have to make a decision. Maybe we can find a way of putting it in the chat.
Come again, come again.
Like having a start and end, like an estimate maximum of years.
There is actually.
Then which means if you have, then your chat should have answered her question, because
yeah,
she's
of course.
saying,
please.
Yes.
Can you scroll down? So here, for the discussion phase,
yes,
we have a time limit, 4 weeks minimum, and we have set freedom for chairs to determine the duration, the total duration. But we agree, we are proposing to be a minimum of 4 weeks.
So at what point do you come up to conclusion, apart from during the decisions?
After discussion phase, yes, you have review phase. Scroll down, please. Review phase, who lasts a maximum of 4 weeks. And after 4 weeks, you go to the concluding phase. So there is step forward.
Okay. So that's maximum from the starting point to the end time. What is the estimated period, for example? You have
because there is option.
Yes.
Nothing said that it will move straight in straight line. You can go back forth.
Yeah, I know.
And cancel.
Yes, it's the back and forth. We are talking about going back and forth for like.
No, we are
3
saying
years.
that we are not. We are saying that there is time limit.
Yes.
If you matching, good. If no, you decide to withdraw. You decide to discuss again. It's up to you.
Yes.
Okay. And at a certain point, we can also recommend you to just drop down your proposal.
So what is that point? That is the issue. What is that point?
That point.
Yes, as an editor, for example.
Okay, let's scroll again. So here at the discussion phase.
Yes.
For instance, let's scroll down a bit. Here, after the duration, the time limit, okay? Let's say 4 weeks. So chairs tell us, do we have some kind of support to move the proposal forward? If it's good, then fine. If not, you have option there. Come again? No, up, down. So here's the link. Okay, you go back to the mailing list. Okay, you go back to the discussion mailing list, or you withdraw.
That still doesn't answer. Let me make it very clear for you to understand what I mean. Assuming I'm an editor, okay? There's a paper sent to me. I sent it out to reviewers. The reviewers sent comments, send it back to the author. Authors revise, okay? Then send it back also to the reviewers to check continuously. As an editor, I should have, this is the maximum time this paper has to be with me, with the editor, before I make a decision. It is the end time that would obviously solve having a proposal endlessly coming back for reviews.
So what you are suggesting is to give a time limit or a number of time a proposal should be discussed.
Yes, because else you can have proposal for 20 years.
Okay, noted.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Please go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Hi, Samin Nakhal, the Communication Authority of Egypt. I apologize. I joined late, so maybe my question addressed was addressed before. So it's related to item 3.4 of the proposed policy proposal. It's related to consensus. Item 3.4.1 minor objections, and item 3.4.2 is major objections. So please, how many you consider is minor and how many you consider is major? Because from my point of view, minor is a number between 1 and 3, and more than 3 is major objection for me. So please, I need you to clarify how many for each one. Thank
you. Okay, so are you going to respond to that now? Or should
okay, yeah, of course. So if you look into the test, I don't want to ask staff, but if you ask, we can show the test. In the proposal, it is online. There is definition for major and minor, okay? And we expect as a working group to elect chairs that are enough experience, okay, to be able to determine what is major and what is minor. So in case, and it is not final, in case there is disagreement about the result of what the chairs have declared as major or minor, you go to appeal. That's easy.
Excuse me, it will depend on the co-chair's opinion.
Come again?
It will depend on the co-chair's opinion. For example, one of co-chair could consider 20 objection is minor.
What we are trying to do as a working group is to set some kind of guideline.
Yes, and guidelines is very good, but it's better to be specified specifically.
Okay, do you propose an improvement for the current test?
Yes, minor is a number under 3. Minor objection is a number between 1 to 3, and major objection is anything more than 3. More than 3.
Which scale can you give me? How can we evaluate 1 for an statement, 2 or 3?
Percentage of what? Of what? Of number of what? No, it's number of votes. So if 3 votes or 2 votes or 1 vote object the proposal, so it's minor. 4 votes object the proposal, policy proposal, so it's major. This is my opinion.
No,
but
we cannot do vote in PDP process.
The test is not saying that.
So please help us and put a number.
Yeah, the test is not about votes. The major test is about qualifying objections.
Okay, 1, 2, 3 objections will be considered.
We are not talking about the quantity of objection. You are talking about the quality of objection.
1, 2, 3 qualified objections will consider minor. More than 3 qualified objections will consider.
Okay. Next, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Dr. Abdikarim Oloyede. I want to ask Komi 1 or 2 questions. And the first one is, you and I, English is not our first language, but probably I'm better because I have been speaking English all my life. But we need to have a definition. We need to have a definition of what consensus is. From my own definition of consensus, what consensus means is to have, to reach a point whereby you reach an agreement where everybody can actually live with that. You need to, that is my own definition of consensus, and that is what I understand about consensus. That is number 1. Okay. Number 2, the problem with the current process, okay, that you and I know very well, is intimidation and name calling. And that is the same thing you are doing today. And that is the problem with the current process. You see that we leave the substance and we go after the personality. And you've not solved that. Until we solve that, we're still going back to the same thing. Thank you.
I have a question for you too, if you allow me. My question is, what are the language of policy discussion according to you?
English.
No?
Yeah, I don't, English.
No, you are wrong actually.
Okay,
maybe
so
I'm wrong, staff. Coach, can you help us? What are the language of discussion on RPD mailing list or during face-to-face meeting?
Any language. That's why we try to provide translation as well.
We try to provide translation as well. But what I'm saying, I'm not saying, it's not, well, you don't understand the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is, what is the definition of consensus? The word consensus is an English word.
Okay, yes. so what's the relevance right now?
My brother, so this is Alain Agina.
Alain Agina, the closed microphone. Carry on very quickly, please.
Okay, I'm one of the...
Okay, author.
I'm the one of the co-authors. So
okay, carry on.
I hope you allow me.
Yes.
So I hear that there is a need for a definition. Guys, we've been doing this AFRINIC since 2005. And there is a definition of rough consensus by ITF, which is used by all the RIRs. Go read that document. I think it's RFC 7282. You're talking about what? Oh, but here we said that in each community we use rough consensus.
Not consensus.
No, point of correction. We actually use rough consensus
and then
to the list, and then consensus.
The same document, the same ITF document define that that rough consensus is the path, it's not the definition. That's why we don't vote. We don't vote. So the idea is, when we are discussing a policy, we have a list of objections and we're trying to address them. Okay? We have to address them. And then the rough consensus, you read rough consensus where you have addressed, I'm not saying accommodate, you have addressed, okay, the main issue, etc. So I want these people, this community, to read that document and know that here we are doing rough consensus. We are not doing full consensus. We are not voting. Okay, and I have to conclude also that this policy proposal, okay, is not our invention. If you look at it, we took it from RIPE, from AFRINIC, from ITF, and we have people here who goes to ITF. ITF has, there is the RFC 2418, which define working group procedure. We have documents, so we are not trying to create this. This is not Alain coming or I know. So I want just to clarify. Thank you, co-chair, for letting me in.
Thank you, Alain. Jody, I would allow one last comment from you, simply
just
because
a comment from a previous comment.
Okay.
Someone was suggesting that we should limit the number of revisions or calls for consensus or something. I really think that's very wrong because it happens very, very often, and it happens in the registry communities, and it happens in ITF and everywhere. Maybe a proposal don't have a place for the community during 2 years, and then on the 3rd year it happens. Okay, so times change and things change, and people can accommodate their views depending on that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So there is some question, few questions.
Okay.
So the first point was from Jody, I think, stating that the proposal is complex, and yeah. So my question is, do we agree with the problem statement? That's the question, because we are not trying to fix complexity. We are trying to fix something wrong in the current process. And can you show my first slide, please? The first document. So here you are saying that the current CPM does not have provision for proposal adoption. It lacks clarity about problem statement, out of scope, proposal out of scope, and does not define clear method for moving proposal forward as well. So that's the problem you are trying to solve. Maybe we disagree with the problem statement, then you should tell us so we can correct. So that's the first point. Then, yeah, you mentioned that RIPE process is focused especially in discussion on mailing list. So my question, are you trying to say that AFRINIC community is not capable of discussing the proposal on mailing list and mature a proposal before discussion? Or are you saying that it is easier for AFRINIC community to come here, to travel here for discuss a proposal from D0 to D, I mean, yeah, and here we are trying, what we are trying to do here is to mature the proposal on the mailing list. So what do you disagree with? Is it impossible?
Okay, guys, this is dragging, and I think that you have ample time. So it's nice to see all of us engaging here in the room. It would be nice to take this energy online and continue to engage. Okay. Thank you very much. Is there anything else you were going to respond to?
Yes, one last maybe. Yeah, about competing proposal as well. Jody is saying that it's useful. So maybe next time he will try to demonstrate that to us. Yeah, and also for an appeal to be valid, it needs at least 2 supporters. That's an objection from Jody, and we are saying that if anybody can appeal and you have a point and you cannot find at least 2 persons who have discussed the proposal on the mailing list to adhere to your idea, I don't think it's relevant actually. So, and also when having enough support is not clear. I think that was his objection. And yeah, my answer is there is provision for appeal. So chairs do their job, but if a member of the community is not happy, there is provision to appeal. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, authors. You may take your seats. And thank you to everyone who's contributed. The decision from the co-chairs is to send the policy proposal back to the mailing lists for further discussion, refinement.